Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
You know, Winston Churchill once said, "You can always count on the American people to do the right thing, only after exhausting all other options."
I don't have any, man. You've seen my videos. I'm off the rails over there sometimes.
And I want to talk about that. But before we do, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Political Drain. You know what this is. Bruce Lively here, a.k.a. Admin Doug, a.k.a. Drill Sergeant. We got someone special. You see the face right there. And I don't know if you guys have been to this channel, but if you want to see what the mix between off the top hilarity, sincerity, down home intelligence, you got to go to The Enemy from Within, or The Enemy Within. I will let Josh tell you the right name. What is it, Enemy from Within or The Enemy Within?
It is The Enemy from Within. That was quite the intro. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like to bring a little bit of humor into the end of the world, you know?
Yes, as we travel into our dystopian future and the void consumes us, I think comedy is the best way to go.
Yeah, you know, it's one of the ways to get people to listen. If you can make them laugh, then you get their attention. They'll listen to what you have to say. Absolutely.
So this is what I'll do. YouTube, the point of having someone like this on here is to gain perspective and to make sure that you are forming a network of people who believe at least slightly the same things, because we're going to need it. Time is of the essence, people. And as we see creators and as we see writers, as we see musicians, as we see politicians that even almost agree and have ideas, we need to build a network. So the first thing you do is you pause this, you go over there, right? I believe if you can't find The Enemy from Within, because there's a lot of things with that name, can they pull up the at?
They should be able to pull up the at. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And subscribe, pick something and like it, and come back. Now that you're back, I want you to, I want you, Josh, to tell them what it is that you, because I kind of know exactly from our little bit of interaction on the email, why you're doing what you're doing. But let the people know why it is you're doing what you're doing, because I think the goal is smart and not that obvious.
Okay, yeah, cut me off if I go too long with this one, because there's a lot of reasons. First and foremost, I'm a father to daughters, and you start to see these things like overturning of Roe versus Wade, the SAVE Act, things like that. You start to look at that and go, well, if somebody's got to stand up for them, you know, it might as well be me that does that. But as far as for those that don't know, I'm a truck driver. I'm sitting in my semi truck right now as we do this. And the blue collar world, it was important for me to reach out to them and tell them there's other ways you can vote, because for the most part, they just think Republican or Donald Trump is the only thing that is out there. And a lot of what I see is a lot of guys that just fall in line and just kind of, you know, believe what they're told. And nobody wants to be the odd man out necessarily. So if you can say, hey, it's okay, all 5'6" of me can stand up and say, we can look at this a different way, then everyone else can too. So it's kind of, how do you say, like a permission structure to a point,
Exactly.
if that makes sense.
Well, that is what I meant by smart. When you said I wanted to bring the blue collar worker, as you call them, the blue collar worker, a person to watch, to look at them, to look like them. It's the same reason why I started watching Bo from the Fifth Column.
Yeah, yes, right? Yeah, good choice.
So the idea is, you say blue collar worker, the truth, and here's the truth. I'm gonna let you respond. The truth that I know that to be is the white blue collar worker, because
Sure.
there's the blue collar workers that is filled by people of color. What we mean when we say that, and I want to be explicit in that, is because I want to know who we're reaching and why, is the white blue collar worker has been lied to for so long. The white blue
Yes.
collar worker is made to believe that he somehow has something more tangibly in connection with Donald Trump than he does with me. He's made to believe that he has somehow more in connection with the people who are constantly screwing him over, that are telling him that uh, he can become the man of the house by misogynizing his wife and putting his daughter on the market. To be um, to be honest with you, I think that being more explicit may have turned them off. But if they're here, then I think that they need to know that. And so, uh, if you can expound on that, if I'm right, if I'm wrong, what's your idea on that? Did I take it too far?
No, no. Yes, the white blue collar worker exactly is, or as I refer to myself in my videos a lot, a dumb hick, right? I got this patchy redneck beard, you know.
Okay.
But no, the white blue collar worker. I'm from rural Colorado, the middle of nowhere, right? And the media ecosystem is heavily tilted towards, Fox News, the right wing media. That's all you hear, and you don't really hear the other side. All you hear is the demonization of the other side. You hear wild shit like Antifa is taking over Seattle right now, and they believe it because that's the only source they have. Um, so I guess to your point is trying to tilt that playing field a little bit in our favor and say, look, I can do this job. I can look like us and talk like us or whatever. We have other fucking options out there. And
Yeah.
that's really important to me. And I feel like you had more to that question that I might have forgot to answer, but
No, no. Well, it was really just for you to expound on it.
yeah.
I would say I want to hear about that. What Antifa's taking over Seattle? Is this like a new talking point?
That was during Trump's first
Okay,
administration.
okay, I got
There were some protests out in the Northwest, and it was all attributed to Antifa. The rural white American understood that there was basically a war zone going on up
you.
there.
Right,
The same as the migrant caravans are coming for us.
got you.
Very similar. Yeah.
So I guess the underlining of the question, if you were to expound any more, then I think what you said was perfect. But really, the other side is, how do we get them to realize that they have less in common with those people who they may look up to, or who they've been taught will they can somehow morph into, with just enough whiteness and just enough cutting off the DEI, they too will be the next African immigrant to own a SpaceX. I don't know. I'm being facetious, of course, but
Yeah, yeah.
the idea is they're done so well at making you both the victim, making white men, blue collar white men,
Mhm.
both the victim and the superhero at the same time, by projecting this, if only we got rid of them, you too could be me. And I want you to talk about how we dispel that, or how you've seen that, and expound on it.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I was raised was, the Mexicans were ruining our lives, right? They were taking our jobs, they were taking up all the benefits. Now, I want to be clear, that's not what I believe. That's not at all what
Right,
I believe. But
right,
that's the way I was raised was we were the victims of everyone else getting all the benefits of all our hard work, which isn't true. You look at the legal immigration, the field workers, things like that are of great benefit to America, obviously. With Donald Trump, there's no way around it. Everybody knows the answer to this. He tapped into hate, and purely what he did. When he came out for his very first press conference and immediately attacked Mexicans, I knew he was going to win. I said, this guy's going to win this shit. So
That's
your question
crazy.
is, yeah, your
No, no, no.
question's huge because
I,
go ahead.
I don't want to stop you. I was gonna say that's crazy because everyone else except your demographic was like, no way. And I
Hmm.
hear it all the time. Their demographic said, "Oh, he's gonna win," and that line right there is the one that we have to find across. But anyway, go ahead and continue because we're the trajectory you were on is important. I hate to interrupt you. I'm sorry, I can't help it.
No, no, you're good, man. No, it's a tough thing because it's 100% entirely based on hate. And I don't know how many of my videos you watched, but I refer to MAGA people as lazy a lot of times
Hmm.
because all they do is blame everyone else and say it's everyone else's fault that I didn't get where I want to be in life. And you're absolutely right. How do we get them to understand that it's the billionaire that's holding them down this entire time? And that's where I'm at a loss right now because we've got people just like me that are cheering on Elon Musk right now while he's accessing all our information, doing God knows what with it. And they're saying, well, he's just getting rid of waste and fraud, and he's cutting actual fucking programs that help people. And man, I'm at a loss with that because that's the thing I think about every day. How do we cross that bridge? And it may be guys like me, but there's been guys like me that came before. Like you mentioned, Bo of the Fifth Column. There was Trey Crowder, the liberal redneck,
He's
you
still
know,
here, and I love
that,
him. Yep.
yeah, and you still struggle to pull these guys over. And it's their own, it's just full of hate. Everyone on the left is gay apparently, and that freaks them out,
Yeah.
right? Or whatever hateful thing they can come up with. Only thing I can think is the right-wing media ecosystem. So how do we bankrupt Joe Rogan so he can't tell us stuff anymore?
I think that you may be on to the better question because I have said it openly on my channel and actively in the resistance that every single second we spend trying to flip someone who will tell you that Roy Moore, the child molester, is okay to vote for because his church said so, but Barack Obama's wife is really a man and he is bad is a moment wasted on somebody who you can't get back. Now, I could be
Yeah.
wrong because I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I don't have the emotional intelligence necessary to to do it. Maybe there's people who can, but I think I would much rather spend my time getting the people who aren't there, who are already not that, or who are already on the fence, or who are just acting like they're that because they're in a household where they have to. Um, and building the permission structure still works for them too. So it's not that.
Yes.
So I think that I could be wrong, and I hate to say it, but I'm not even trying anymore. There's no point in trying that for me. I want people who were on the couch and who don't believe that, but think that there's nowhere to go to get up. Get up.
Mhm.
We need you now. We need you now.
Right.
Um, so here we go. Do you think that there's changing them? Do you think that you're geared more towards getting those people who were on the couch, or are we just galvanizing maybe the people who just didn't want to speak before? What is more plausible to you? What's more your goal?
It's a tough question, man. The reason I started this channel is because I was waiting for a guy like me to
Mm,
start a channel like
there
this,
you go.
and then it occurred to me one day, why can't I? Right? I've been doing YouTube for a lot of years, more with trucking things, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do it because there are more guys like me out there, but for lack of a better term, there's a lot of fucking cowards out there that want to fit in when they're at work.
Mm.
So they put on their silly Trump hat and they go, hell yeah, I voted for Donald Trump. So there's a bit of a permission structure. You're not going to get everyone. You're not even going to get most of them. But if you can get a few guys to speak out and say, fuck Donald Trump at their jobs, then you kind of create those cracks, kind of kick the door open. So we're not going to get them all. There's a lot that are too set in their ways. But since I've started my channel, I've already seen a few truckers even come over to my channel and say, you know what, I've always thought this stuff, but I've always kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to deal with the trouble. And now that you're able to, say it, kind of helps me say it too.
Man, that is I guess that's why we need different perspective. That's why you're here. The amount of people that I would have ever thought would put on a hat and act. I mean, not like, okay, well, they just don't say anything because they don't want to get in trouble at home. Women, daughters,
Mm.
or boys who don't feel like, their, idea of masculinity is the same. But listening to you just say that, it's like a damn anvil. How many people actually do that? How many people are truckers or construction workers or whatever it is that we would consider blue collar that would put on the hat just to act like because the peer pressure is so strong,
A lot.
but not do it? And it's a lot. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a lot because I watched it happen. I was actually working in the oil field the first time Trump won, and we hated Donald Trump. Everyone in that oil field hated Donald Trump.
Mhm.
But if you can get the biggest bully at your job to like Donald Trump, then he's going to bully everyone else into submission, to also like Donald Trump. And where do you spend most of your life? At work.
At work
You go home. Yeah. So
in America.
that's where you're yeah, exactly. That's where you're most likely trying to fit in. So blue collar white Americans, like you pointed out, I honestly believe got bullied into believing in Donald Trump's message because he offers us nothing at all.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Um, it's the strangest thing to watch how he tells you to your face, tells all of us, tells Americans to their face, I got nothing for you. Um,
Yeah,
and I
I don't
plan
care
on
about you. I just want your vote.
I just want your vote. I
Yeah.
honestly don't care about you. And even if he says, listen, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, it'll be done before I even take office. It's done in such a flippant way that you're asking yourself, does anybody see the joke? Like we realize he's HR he's a Barnum, whatever, Barnum and Bailey. You realize it's a circus. Like you realize
Right.
that's not how normal human beings talk, right? And it's like, no, they heard, did you hear what he said yesterday? He said he was going to get rid of all of the inflation and the wars before he even becomes president. And I'm
Mhm.
looking like, is that just because you wanted to believe that, you needed to
Well,
believe that, or you're lying to me
now
that you believe that?
I have a theory on that. When you talked about the way Donald Trump talks, a lot of people feel like politics is way over their head and they shouldn't be involved at all. So when Donald Trump, I mean, I don't. Sometimes I mean to be a dick, but this isn't that time. A lot of the red states or red areas in our country don't have good education.
Mhm.
They're it's not their fault. The Republicans have been gutting education for fucking years. So when you put somebody in front of them that's going to run for president that speaks at a level that they do, then they respond to that. And when you listen to like Barack Obama speak or any other person that speaks very well, you feel like you're being talked down on a little bit. So when you got Donald Trump comes out and he's talking like a 5-year old at best, people can at least relate to that, and they feel like they're involved in politics at that point.
I I said that before, and I said that
Mm,
intellectually, like just knowing intellectually that there is a vast a vast amount, if it's not a majority, it's a vast amount of people who um
mm,
felt left out of politics because they don't understand because the school system sucks. We don't learn civics. We don't really understand. We're also worked to death, right? You don't
mm.
have
Yeah,
time. And so
right.
I said before that thinking that he speaks like a third grader. Um, there's not there is a lot of people who just feel like, okay, now I understand it, so he must be the one.
Right.
And
Yeah,
now,
because it feels intimidating. Yeah. The other guys feel
yeah.
intimidating when they speak.
So I'm a big fan of calling them stupid. I
Yeah.
know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. I don't know. Like I said, I've given up on trying to get them over to my side. What I'm trying to
Mhm.
do is shame them to the point where they get out my comment section, and most have, and provide a way for other people to not be stupid, to not want that side. So I kind of approach it from a different way. Is is it, in your opinion, ineffective, less effective, more effective to be that way?
All right. First part of that is I'm from rural America, so I have a soft spot for them, and I recognize that they've been taken advantage of by, right-wing media. So sometimes I struggle with that. But on the other hand, they respond to bullying. Like if you can bully one of these guys, they'll listen to what you have to say. That's why they listen to Donald Trump. He's a bully.
Wow.
you know and it's weird watching like a 6'4" man, like grown man, could be a lumberjack, falling in line, because guys like that don't get bullied very often, right?
Yeah.
So when it happens to them, they don't know what to do. So it's an effective strategy, in my opinion. Bully them, you know.
Huh.
um
I like the way you
the,
think, Josh. I like the way you think.
yeah, that they obviously they respond to it. They voted for Donald Trump, who tells them on a daily basis how much he despises them. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
wild. It's
yeah.
wild. Um, let's talk about the blue collar worker, the
Mhm.
lower middle class, white Republican right now. Say you're not completely indoctrinated by the church, but you have to be a Christian because you don't want to go to hell.
Mhm.
I too am a Christian, and when I talk like this, most people don't understand. I'm not only a Christian. I'm actually somebody who has been a a pastor, a minister at a church, and it's my idea of Christianity has fallen so far from the mainstream that it's I don't really recognize much of it. But from the Christian perspective, I say that they feel like they have to be a Christian, and they feel like that there's only one way to be, but they're not going to church every day, so the indoctrination isn't as stark. Your goal in reaching this blue collar worker, when you've told me that you seem to get the most engagement when speaking about those policies that affect them. Is
Mhm.
this because it's the first time they're hearing it, in your opinion, or is it because it's the first time they're hearing it from you, from them?
Well, what I can tell you is I get more views on those videos. I can't specifically tell you who's viewing the videos, but those are the most popular ones. It very rarely gets through. That's the hard part. I will get the Trump supporters in my comments, and I got one guy that I'm trying really hard with. He comes to every video and he argues the points that I make, and I have the conversations with him because he's kind of dumb, but at least he's polite.
Yeah.
So we have the conversation, and I'm trying to get him to the point where he just acknowledge that you were lied to. That's step one, you know. And if we can get you
That's a
there,
good point. Can you acknowledge
yeah,
that
if we
you've
can,
been lied to?
yeah. So every time he comes and he makes a point, then I challenge him. Like today, he said under Joe Biden, prices on everything doubled and tripled. And I said, well, can you tell me the things that doubled and tripled in price under Joe Biden? And he just made up a list of things. Rent doubled, he said. Uh, he had a whole list of everything that doubled and tripled. And then I just went back and I looked at all that information and I responded to him. I said, "You're so close, man. Just admit that you're being lied to, and, and you're there. Then you're there." I don't remember the end of your question. If I'm being honest, I get caught up in my bullshit
No,
sometimes.
that's
But
okay. Let's talk about the bullshit. You said that you were a YouTuber for a while, doing trucking stuff, because I am amazed. My next question was going to be, before you said that, I had a question in mind. How the hell are you so good at speaking so quickly, concisely, to camera, and without any notes? Because you told me that you just this stuff is off the cuff. You just think about it and you turn on the camera. What? How? How? You're good, man. You're really, really, really
Thank you.
good at this. How did you?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, one of the advantages is I have been doing YouTube for a long time, like 10 years, but I sit here in my truck by myself all day. So I think about, what I'm getting. I got no one to talk to,
I
I'm just by
like it.
myself. But the biggest secret, the biggest trick to how I do my videos, because they are 100% unscripted, off the cuff. When I screw up, I just make fun of myself while I look for the words that I'm looking for. I'm going through my head going, what do I need to say? What am I talking about? And I make fun of me through the whole thing, and then I just get back on topic. It's
I
just kind of
like
roll
it.
through it. So you let your audience know you're human, you're a person, right? If I had a script in front of me, I would be very robotic. I would just read off of it. There's no bullet points, no script, and then I get mad at myself sometimes because I left some punchlines out I meant to get in there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we try to circle back and get them another time.
So I've done both ways, right? Like I once I started to realize that for some reason, and I think my what I got from the realization was wrong, my assessment was wrong, but the idea was every now and then I would do something off the cuff, and I think about it and press record, and then I think about it some more and press record, and I would kind of do it that way. And some of those started to blow up, and I was like, is there something different in the way I do it without reading? Because I'm pretty good at reading the script and not making it seem like I'm reading the script as well.
Mhm.
Um, but I said maybe there's something different, and I started to just do that more, and realized that maybe that wasn't the case. I just got lucky, right? But
Yeah. Well, one of the things I do too is like this is going to sound like some cliche bullshit, but like try to be humble about what I'm doing. If I don't know what's going on, I'll just look in the camera and tell you that
yeah,
and ask you to tell me what's happening. Now, I don't know everything. And my audience is super receptive to that. Like a few days ago, I forgot mid-video
what
what
happens
happens
after
when
a
a
president
president dies.
dies? I
Yeah,
saw it. I
completely
was like,
forgot.
this motherfucker right here just said it. What happened?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was so endearing. You're right. It seemed right. It seemed perfect. If anybody else had said that in a different context, it would have been like, you really don't know. But
they
of
get
course not. You're
crucified.
on camera.
Yeah,
You're thinking a million miles an hour. It was so
yeah.
perfect. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just wanted to let
No,
you
no,
know I
you
saw that before you said it.
you you normally would get crucified by your own audience for that.
Yes.
I set the tone early on this channel. Hell, I even went to war with our side over 2 videos when I first started because like there's some flaws on our side. I think you would acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And one of the unfortunate things we do is sort of like purity testing, like word policing,
Jesus
right?
Christ. Yes.
And like I did 2 videos back to back that said, look, I look like a dumb hick. I'm in a semi truck and I'm gonna say shit wrong, but I'm on your side. Knock it the fuck off.
Yeah,
So
man.
like I set the tone pretty early with I don't know everything. And like some crazy shit's gonna come out of my mouth, and you are welcome to get in the comments and tell me what I don't understand. I welcome that. So,
Um,
but the thing with the president, that was so funny because I'm like, I obviously know the answer to this, but you know what? It's funnier if we leave it in. So I left it in.
that was the kicker was you decided to leave it in. Because of
Mhm,
course you knew down to the point that if the vice president can't do it, then the Speaker of the House becomes
mhm.
what it is.
Right.
And knowing to that level means you have to first know the first the first
Yeah.
level. It's obvious, you
Right.
know.
Well, here's where I got confused. I'll tell you what confused me with that because there was some talk about Donald Trump not even living until he took office because he's morbidly obese and elderly, right?
Right.
And then there was some confusion, I think, in the courts. If a president hasn't taken office yet, does the vice president still become the president, or is there
Mm,
another election? And that's where I got confused with that.
got you.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so even then, even though that they haven't sworn in, I think the vice president just swears in, right? Because
Okay.
there's still
Fair.
an election. So we have to go
Mhm.
by what the election says. Um, But you're right. That is a little bit more confusing. So, all right. So I want to get to a couple more things. How did you break from it? Like, because I look at people like Jesse Dollamore, who went to the military, and military usually finds a way of breaking people from it. Having to go over there usually ends all of that quickly, right?
Hmm.
And Dollamore talks about how he was raised by straight up fascist, racist, like
Hmm.
the worst kind, and he got out of it. It always intrigues me to know, how did you do it? Because right now we're both at a loss as to how to get them out. But you were actually raised in the same area and same way as them,
Hmm.
but somehow got out. Do you know how you got out? Is there a way that you figured it
Well,
out?
the first step is I didn't get in too deep. Like I was raised in that way too. My family was huge Rush Limbaugh fans. You know that lunatic.
Oh yeah,
They
my
they were
dad.
huge fans of him.
My so yeah, I know who he is. I know more about him than I wish to know. I had to listen to him and watch
Yes.
him often.
Right. Yeah, no, it's the way I was raised by rednecks. It was nothing for us to drop the hard R anytime we got the chance. That's
Hmm.
what we did. But what really changed it for me, I'm from Colorado. When I was 19, I moved to New Mexico. You ever been to New Mexico?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have actually.
That that
I went there for
I
a concert.
oh, which concert?
So I played for Jamie Grace, who is a gospel artist, like a contemporary
Okay.
gospel, and I played drums for her on tour. We went to New Mexico. So yeah,
Oh, there you go. Cool.
yeah,
I consider it to be our last state with like its own culture because
yeah,
everything else is just whitewashed at this point. Starbucks on every corner. You
yeah.
know, and New
You're
Mexico's
100%
got
right.
that, but it's very much still about the Native Americans, the Hispanic culture. But I moved down there when I was young, and honestly, the seeing the world. Yeah, and all I did was move a state away.
Hmm.
But seeing different cultures can open your eyes to like, oh, these people aren't as bad as I thought they were. Not near as bad as uh, what I was told they were. As a matter of fact, I worked at a Walmart down there overnight. I was broke as shit, couldn't afford to feed myself, and this old Mexican lady like started offering me food, and then she would make me food. And boy, if you ever had some New Mexico cooking, good Lord, that'll blow your mind.
Wow.
But she started making me food and bringing it to me because I was all of 100 pounds. And she said, I got to feed you. And then like I became their family. I didn't have any family there, so I was invited to all the holidays, and it wasn't like necessarily her doing nice things for me that made me go, oh shit, I don't believe in this anymore. It was just seeing the culture and sort of how would you explain it? Their willingness to be like giving and thoughtful of people around them. Like I was raised in a very selfish way. It belongs to the white man.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
like you're like, wow, these people really care about people. And then being a trucker for 10 years, I've been to all 48 states, made it to every one of them, finally got Rhode Island last summer. That one was real elusive for some reason. But you go everywhere in this country and it kind of opens your eyes a little bit.
Wow, 10 years, huh? So you were with the you said you were doing oil rigging? You're like out on the sea, oil rig before?
No, no, no. This was in northern Colorado and southern Wyoming, the
Uh,
oil fields they have out there. Yeah,
okay, okay. Cool
yeah,
breeze.
yeah.
So I I like that idea. It's just it's so hard to scale up. Like that's the individual thing. You can't make everybody move and travel the world or meet new
Well,
people.
yeah, out there in rural America, people are stuck in their bubble, the people they know. And I had hope for the internet. I said, oh my God, the internet's everywhere. People can finally see the world. And then guys like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan dominate the internet. So
Yeah.
it didn't
Well,
help at all.
the
It didn't do
algorithm.
anything.
It's the
Mhm.
algorithm, right? So at first, yeah, YouTube was for a way to find everything. Like, whoa, be into this or into that.
Sure.
But capitalism takes over, and now the algorithm directs. you to what they think you want more of instead of allowing you to see new things. And I don't know if maybe you haven't noticed it, um, but I'm not. But I talk a little bit. I have a little bit more risque channel, and it's been obvious since the election that okay, well, if you mention certain things, can't put certain things in the title anymore. Um, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get more siloed, and we'll be more shut down. Um,
Mhm.
and after this next expose I got coming out, I'm afraid if they'll ever show me in again. But that side of it is tough. I really don't have a question for that. It was just more of a response to what you were saying. Like that's
Mhm.
how do we get people to see more? You know what's funny? The the Republican response to being gay, to empathy for trans, to empathy for being people person of color, nothing ever bothers them until it's them. They're
Mhm.
all for hating on gays and gay rights until I found out my daughter is gay, and now
Mhm.
I think differently about that thing that I
Right.
voted for that would absolutely destroy their lives. But now that it affects me, man, maybe I was wrong. And I think
Mhm.
maybe that has a lot to do with that's just maybe a human thing, right?
Right.
With having going to visit New Mexico or having to have a different experience. Once it happens to you, you think differently, which is the point of integration, which is where we're going to get to
Mhm.
now. They're trying to get rid of the Department of Education, which started
Mhm.
as I mean, what not? I mean, in the way we know it now, right? Under Jimmy Carter, as a way to promote desegregation, as a way to ensure um, equality in schools, as a way to standardize the testing to be not racist or not overhanded, heavy-handed on sectionality. Once that's gone, that last hope that I had of the kids not being able to have a friend who's black and who's Mexican and who's gay or who's trans and having to actually know them and see them as people could also be gone. How
Mhm.
far are we from that, do you think? Do you think we'll fight back for that? Do you think school systems will change for that? With yours, where you grew up, the minute they could go back to segregation, if they could?
Well, my kids' school emailed us recently and said that they will not be allowing ICE or any kind of investigations to happen on their property, which was a relief. You
Yeah.
know, it's a tough fucking call, man. It's a tough thing to figure out because if you if you tell people like me, where I'm from, not people like me, don't take that the wrong fucking way, but people where I'm from, you said, hey, we could just have a school full of white people. They're gonna jump all over that. You
Mm.
know, well, white straight boys that are in charge of everything, and then we can have the girls here that are property, then they're all for that.
Mm.
Um, the thing that confuses me is how do you get like black people and Hispanic people and a lot of what I see is Middle Eastern guys out here on the road that have Trump stickers on their trucks. What is going on that that anybody from that background is voting for Trump, and that's the wild card in this, in my opinion. Now, if you can get a bunch of Mexican dudes to go along with segregation, then you're outnumbered at that point.
Wow. That comes down to proximity to whiteness. And by
Okay.
whiteness, I mean the academic whiteness, not being white. All right. The whiteness of being in charge, having an entitlement that's given to you, um, being better than, deserving, one step away from greatness, from prosperity, acceptance. whiteness, right? This is what's meant by this proximity. Many Mexican, Venezuelans, as they're now crying because they're losing their status. Jamaicans,
Mm,
I've seen it as a Jamaican. I have dual citizenship.
mm,
My family, literally, instead of instead of associating themselves with the struggle of the black people who were here, will come here and say, "I'm not like them. I'm not like them. I have a
mm,
proximity to whiteness." And they don't say it that way, but it's so ingrained because it comes with power, it comes with self-esteem. It having that proximity comes with a whole lot of gifts and promises. And it's the same thing that happens to the Middle Eastern person, the Mexican or the Latino, to the woman who thinks that they rather give up all their rights because they have a proximity to the white male. Whiteness, in that respect, is so enticing. It's so gift giving to think that you're
mm,
there, to think that you could possibly have it. And I said in my video about that, I said that everyone else is going to have to learn the same way we did after 400 years of realizing that it's a lie.
mm. Right.
After 400 years of realizing that that's a lie, those people who believe that they have some extra proximity, some closeness, some extra relation to the good ones, to the whiteness, they're gonna
Mm,
have to deal with this next 4 years in order to figure out that it was a lie. Because that's how we, the black American, I still came over here young enough to I feel like I'm part of that community. The black American had to figure that out. And when you look at the voting numbers, Josh,
mm,
that's what it says. Just look at the proximity to whiteness, and it'll show you everything you need to know. The black man feels a little bit more entitled, a little bit less threatened than the black woman, but overall, 80% of all of us realize that shit is not happening. We're not any closer. Doesn't matter how rich you are, poor you are, if you're Obama or
mm,
Michelle, it doesn't matter. We realize that the worst thing that could possibly happen, if it was possible, we're going to feel it. We know that.
mm. Right.
On down the line, the closer proximity to whiteness you believe you have, you believe the worst thing that could possibly happen ever, that thing wouldn't be me, but it's okay for them over there.
Mm, mm, mm.
Until
Okay.
they see themselves in that black category where they realize that that worst, whatever that is, even if it's implausible, whatever that worst thing is, could possibly be me, would have all voted a different way, including white women.
Mm, mm. Yeah.
Um,
So,
oh,
wow, that's got the gears spinning in my head. That's very similar. So you're saying proximity to whiteness, and if I'm interpreting it right, like proximity to privilege, maybe.
yeah,
Um, and then that's the same reason
privilege and
you see.
acceptance.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And that's the same reason you see guys vote for Donald Trump and are almost cult-like because it's proximity to billionaire, if I'm interpreting this right. It's why you see
100%.
the guy. We just had this guy in Florida whose wife got deported. He wanted to sit down and talk to Donald Trump. He says, I voted for you. Can we at least discuss this? And it sucks that he has to find that out, but you voted for him doesn't matter. He got what he wanted already.
Yeah,
So,
you're not his friend.
yeah, no.
No, but we're just alike, aren't we, buddy? Like, but it's us. It's us in this
Right,
thing.
right.
Like, no, it's him, and you are just like me. That's the next. That's the last piece. We'll end it here because I think that people need to watch your channel to get a idea of your videos. But guys, he's so good. He's so good. The quick wittedness, um, the way you talk, everything about it is so engaging. I just want to tell you guys to go check out The Enemy from Within. If you haven't learned anything in this little hour that we're having here, um, just go there. But I'll end it with this. If there's a way that we could possibly take those videos that you do or all this type of conversation and somehow take it back to what I said in the beginning, to let somehow let them know that they have more in common with me, that the rich white person know they have more in common with you, a truck driver, than they do with Donald Trump. Let the pastor even, which is harder than all of them, because there's a level of privilege and control that you get when someone gives you their faith over, open-handedly. You have a power that's really corrupting. Um, and I know about it. If there's a way to convince them, to let them know you have more in common with your congregation, with the lowest member of your congregation, than you do with anyone up there in that other class. Very few Congress people or senators would would not apply to this class, right?
Mhm.
And there are a couple. They're not all bad guys. There's some people who got there because they wanted to serve and do what they have to stay in. But 99.9% of them believe that they're in that class and they deserve your worship. If there's a way to break that with a video or 10, a channel or 10, are you on that path, do you think? Is there a way to change it after our conversation? How do I get on that
Um,
path in your assessment?
I think I'm on that path. Like I said, we're only going to get very few of them, but just having this truck as a backdrop, that I'm out here and seeing the country, and I really believe it's just that permission structure. I don't know how many times I've heard from people. They say, "Hey, I just put your video in front of my MAGA family so they could see you're like them and Donald Trump's not like them."
Mhm.
We got to have people brave enough to do that.
Yeah,
You know how hard it is to put a video like mine in front of MAGA?
yeah.
That's got to be scary. So really the answer is fucking bravery. Stand up for yourself, and stand up for what you think is right. And on that note, like I don't think I'll ever quit trucking now as long as I'm running this channel, even if I just completely blow up, because having my finger on the pulse of America and having the blue collar thing as like a backdrop to what I'm
Yeah.
talking about is so incredibly important. It's a big deal.
It's a gigantic deal, and I'm happy you're out here
Now,
doing it, man. Um, I'll probably have you back on again to think about these things that we spoke about, because I know I am, and I'm see if we have more to talk. We're gonna have more to talk about as you go around the
yeah.
world, or around the country, I should say, the world,
Mm-hmm.
around the country, uh, and have more insight. But honestly speaking, this this was one of the most insightful interviews I've ever done, simply because I don't think I've been able to express or contemplate, really internalize some of the things we talked about today until you got here.
Mm-hmm.
I truly appreciate it, man. I hope you're gonna end up coming back to me, man. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll give you the last statement. What would you like to say to my audience? Have you seen any of my stuff, or have you checked out the channel?
I watched one. I got to admit, things have been very chaotic around here with the 70-hour work week in the truck and
Yeah.
videos. And we just launched a Discord on my channel, so things have been absolutely insane. So I did stop and watch one. And I've watched, I believe were you on the last live stream with Sons of Liberty, or was that someone
Yeah, so
else
I'm
over
an
there?
admin at Sons of Liberty. I'm also,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I you'll go there and see. I make videos for them. I'm in charge of a lot of stuff over there in their Discord. So yeah, I'm of Sons of Liberty as well. This is just my separate channel.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So last word, honestly, is they're trying to wear us down right now, and it's exhausting. Stay in the fight and fight everything. even if it doesn't apply to you, make sure you're standing up for everything that's going on right now, because we are winning some things. We're winning court cases. We're winning in public opinion. We're winning in, nationwide protests. So we got to stay in it for the next 4 years, no matter how tired we get, because we're in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. YouTube. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Josh, thank you so much for coming here, man. I appreciate it. I hope that I think like we have the same amount of subscribers as you do, I believe. So we're
About the same, yeah.
Yeah, so I hope that we both get to grow together and spread this message. And The Enemy from Within, y'all. Check them out.
Awesome.
And appreciate you coming in.
All right, appreciate you, man.
Bye. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.